Hi, I'm Femi OK, and you're in the stream. Today, a political coup in Brazil. That's what President Dilma Rousseff is calling a push to impeach her. So back in August of last year was the last time the stream tackled the political crisis in Brazil. Omar Badar is our digital producer. Back at that time, we were trying to work out, will Dilma Rousseff, will she be impeached? And I think people universally, even if they wanted her to be, no, it's not going to happen. Fast forward to today and...
Here we are. We're seem to be a lot closer to it. And
Sure.
we asked our community what this push for impeachment means. And we have Regina who says, it means that the Brazilian people are absolutely tired of government corruption and we're tired of having to pay for it. Now, on the other hand, given the fact that a lot of the people who are pushing for impeachment are themselves mired in corruption scandal, we have people who are wondering whether there's a little bit more to the story, like Neslihan over here, who tweets in saying, apart from corruption allegations, is there any other reason for President Rousseff's impeachment? Now, this is part of what we're going to try to answer, but in the meantime, we want to know what you think, so be sure to tweet in using the hashtag AJStream.
Hi, my name is Lucas de Aragão. I'm a political analyst from Brazil, Arco Advice, Brazil's leading public affairs and political analysis company, and I'm in the stream.
Brazil's political crisis took its latest twist when its lower house of Congress voted to impeach President Dilma Rousseff just over a week ago. Rousseff is accused of illegally using money from state-owned banks to mask the country's deficit ahead of her 2014 re-election. But her supporters say elected officials often use this economic tactic without consequence. They also point out 60% of Brazil's Congress has been accused of wrongdoing, including many leading the movement against Rousseff. Her troubles come amid a low presidential approval ratings, a poor economy, and a corruption scandal involving a state-run oil company and major political parties. Rousseff is not charged with illegal activities in that scandal, but her opposition still holds her responsible. So, what's next for Brazil? To help us discuss this, we're joined from Sao Paulo by Fabio Ostermann, the Executive Director of the Foundation for the Social Liberal Party. Renata Barreto is an economist and activist, also in Sao Paulo. In Rio de Janeiro, we're joined by Betty Martins, a documentary filmmaker, and Laura Carvalho is an Associate Professor of Economics at the University of Sao Paulo, joining us from New York. Betty, you're a filmmaker. If you were going to take us somewhere in Brazil that pretty much embodies what is going on right now, where would you take us?
Well, I have to say that I don't know where we're going to take you because I don't even know what's going on because things seems to be so clear to me. This impeachment process is completely wrong, is being structured by and organized by people that has been called up names in the corruption schemes. And I don't know why people are supporting this, to be honest. I don't really understand if the discourse is against corruption. I mean, Brazil has a history of corruption. They are made to believe that it's the problem with the Workers' Party only. And I think people are really manipulated to this discourse, really. We have been seeing a rise of right-wing populism here in Brazil, I think, similar in the US. And these people that are not very happy with the, with the affirmative actions that, the government also has been taking place. I mean, there are lots to discuss, but
Betty, hold tight for a moment. Hold tight, because I'm trying to get a sense of, if I was in Brazil, what would be the feeling? So I'm just looking here at a poll. So it's an approval poll. So we're starting for 2011. So this is for Dilma Rousseff. So it starts pretty high. We've got 70%. And then we go to even last summer, and it's way down here at 15%. It's even lower right now. It's more like 8%. Would you say most of the country do not like their president?
I think that a lot of things happened lately. The corruption with the corruption scheme, and in the media as well. There were like this they were like talking more about Lula and Dilma Rousseff all the time. I think there was like a media spectacle, to be honest, that kind of contributed to that sense of disagreement. Obviously, we have the economic crisis, but that shouldn't be a reason to impeach the.
Do you think most of the country doesn't like the president? Lots of things that happen, but does the country like the president?
Yeah, it does. I mean, lots of people like the president. To be honest with you, Femi, I don't agree 100% with the
Fabio,
government.
let me just bring in Fabio. Hold on, Betty. Fabio's making a face. Why were you making a face, Fabio?
Well, we had 2 years in a row the largest protests, popular protests in the history of the country. President Dilma Rousseff has hit an all-time low in the surveys of popularity.
And she started really high, Fabio, but she started really high. I mean, this has happened in over 2 terms. She was very popular.
I mean, she was taken to this low position due to her own incompetence, to the terrible performance of her government and the huge corruption scandals that rise during her administration.
Yeah, Laura, I know you wanted to jump in, and just let me squeeze this in real quick. So, we've heard a lot about incompetence and all that, but ultimately we have some people in our community who are questioning whether you can go after her given the fact that there are no charges specifically against her. We have Gilbert here who says Rousseff has done nothing wrong to deserve impeachment. It's people surrounding her who are suspected of wrongdoing. And then we also have Ronald over here who says legal grounds are truly established for impeachment if crimes are actually filed. And so far there have been no charges to date. Laura, what do you think then? Are there grounds to actually go after her for impeachment?
No, there aren't. And what it's interesting is that the argument in the lower house when they were voting goes exactly along the lines of those that were mentioned by Fabio, meaning she's incompetent and they plunged the country into a crisis, etc. These are not reasons for impeaching a president anywhere in the world. Exactly. Can you imagine if in the post-crisis, post-2008, pretty much all the presidents would have been impeached in Europe and in the US if these were reasons for ousting a president. So people are completely forgetting about legal basis, about the Constitution, about the actual facts. And on top of it, there are politicians taking advantage of that genuine concern.
So Laura, as you're saying that, Renata is dying to get in. And Renata, there is at least one charge against President Rousseff, right?
Yeah, I have
there are
one charge.
Actually, I agree with her. There are a lot of politicians that are trying to sweep in and take advantage on that. But we have legal basis on impeachment, especially on in grounds of fiscal responsibility law. So Dilma actually committed a crime. She violated this law. So this gives legal basis to the impeachment to go forward to proceedings. So there's actually a legal basis to the impeachment. Of course, you don't impeach a president because she's incompetent or she's not able to perform a good government. This is not reason enough to impeach a president. But a legal basis is actually on that.
All right, so can I explain a little bit about the legal basis?
Yeah, make it very 101 legal basis, Laura, and I'm going to give you a minute to do it. Go ahead.
I will. So basically what happens is they looked for the criminal and then they search for a crime, right? And so what they find are fiscal maneuvers in 2014, which Dilma and the government were condemned for. Not Dilma herself, the government, as the former Treasury Secretary is the one actually responsible for it. And these are 2014, and the law is very clear in Brazil. You cannot impeach a president for something that she did in the past term. You have to find a crime in the current term, and the accounts weren't even judged. These accounts weren't even judged in 2015 by the federal.
One at a time. Fabio,
what if she continues?
Hold tight a minute. Fabio, go ahead. Just repeat what you just said, because you were saying it while Laura was speaking.
What if she continues to do so in 2015? She continues to break our fiscal responsibility law. And I'm sorry, but this argument that trying to blame her Secretary of Treasury, who's the one who appointed him? Not Dilma Rousseff. I'm sorry, but this argument
the federal government, the federal government has the federal government has different institutions and organisms and people involved, and there is even an attorney general to defend them from crime.
Let me
so
throw
you need
something
to
else into the mix
have a
here.
specific kind of crime, which is a crime of responsibility, in order to have an impeachment process. It's not enough to have any type of crimes.
All right. So Laura's like, there's not enough to actually impeach a president. Fabio is saying there is. Let me show you something else back here on my laptop. This is what President Dilma Rousseff said herself. Sexism, misogyny is part of the impeachment drive. Betty, what's your take on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this is a problem here in Brazil. Like, people have obviously problem, I think, with having a woman as a president. And I mean, you can see that, I mean, the magazine here in Brazil, one of the big sort of right-wing magazines, you can say here, just put a picture of the woman, the wife of Michel Temer, as to be the good wife,
and the wife of Michel Temer,
beautiful.
so we actually understand and appreciate the story, is Michel Temer.
Sorry?
Yes, you just... Yes, very good. Okay,
the vice president, yes. Yeah, that's it. Sorry. Yeah, so they kind of portrayed her as, you know, the good wife, the well-behaved, and obviously Dilma Rousseff is the fighters, the criminal, and so I think there is this argument is valid. Yes, I think there's a lot of sexism, misogyny, and that really contributes to not accepting her really as a president.
And we have people who are talking about this online as well. We have Galactus over here who says, it sounds like someone found a scapegoat in reference to the president. I think sexism plays a role in this as well. And we have I'm a Believer over here who says, I think she is too soft, or rather too weak, and that's not sexism. I can't quite tell if I'm a Believer is actually making a joke in this case. But Renata, what do you think? Is sexism playing a role in the way that the president is perceived?
Sexism. Totally disagree about sexism in here, because of course we have sexism and racism and all of this prejudice in Brazil and in many other countries in the world, but I don't think the reason to impeach President Rousseff is because of sexism. It's not
a reason. It's just...
I don't think this is the reason.
But even if it's not the reason, is it a factor though? Is it in perceptions?
No, I don't see that way. I don't see that way. It's just like you said, if someone doesn't have the competence to rule a government or rule a country, or do at least one speech that actually has something to do with each other, because if you hear a little bit of her speech, you're gonna see how crazy she is. And if she was a guy...
Renata, slow down a bit. What do you mean how crazy she is? Unpack that a little bit for us. That's a big statement.
She can say something attached to each other. You listen to one speech of her and you're going to understand nothing. That's the thing. So she's not only committed crimes, she's not only supported, she's supportive of corruptors like José Dirceu. There's a Workers' Party friend of Lula and friend of Dilma Rousseff. She's not only supporting this and not only being not competent about ruling the government, she is no good to make public speeches.
You just sound like you...
no good at all.
But this sounds like you just don't like her. You don't like her style. I'm not sure you can be impeached for being a bad speaker. Fabio, what do you want to say? In fact, I know you
for starters, she was the chairwoman of Petrobras administration board for almost 8 years, period during which most of the corruption scandals happened. These corruption scandals that we're just finding out right now. And besides that, she was the president of the country for more than 5 years, period in which this corruption scandal continued to happen. So she was clearly negligent with this whole corruption scheme. But this is not the reason why she's being impeached. She's being impeached because she has committed fiscal responsibility crimes. Exactly. And this is clear in our Constitution. It's not for Fabio, for Laura, for Betty, for Renata to decide if she committed a crime or not. It's for our Congress.
All the
Constitution states very clearly in our 85 and 84.
Fabio, Laura would like to ask you a question. Go ahead.
I have two questions. One is why all the governors and mayors who have committed exactly the same kind of fiscal accounting maneuvers haven't been impeached yet? And the second one is why is it that since she was involved in the corruption scheme at Petrobras, given how hard people are trying to get her attached to it, how come they haven't managed to put any charges against her yet, if you think she's responsible for the entire oil company scandal?
Questions, two answers. First, she was not indicted for committing crimes on overseeing the corruption scandal in Petrobras because the Attorney General, Rodrigo Janot, appointed by Dilma Rousseff, denied himself on accusing her because he said, and this is a misinterpretation of the law in my opinion, and in the opinion of several colleague lawyers, that the president cannot be investigated. Yeah,
all right,
I know
second
this
answer,
is absurd.
Fabio, because our community also want to join in the conversation. Second answer, very briefly. Yep, go on.
Answer, 2 wrongs or 3 wrongs or 4 wrongs don't make a right.
It just may seem, what about hypocrisy? Fabio, what about hypocrisy?
But I mean, we need to set the right incentives in this issue. If governors and mayors have committed the same crime,
so you
they should be punished
by
the same way.
Your juries, so you
They have to be punished.
You create jurisprudence by impeaching a president. That's the first thing to do.
So guess I hear the point of tension in your debate. Let me just bring in Omar and the community.
So, Femi, we actually got a few tweets from a popular left-wing political cartoonist in Brazil, Carlos Latu, who sees this more as a politically motivated or class struggle in a sense. He tweeted in saying, most of the politicians who voted for impeachment are facing corruption charges themselves. What's happening is a political dispute. I expect the outcome of this impeachment to be a more conservative right-wing government that will crack down on social movements. And then in reference to a bridge to the future, which is one of the things that the vice president talks about a lot, he says that that bridge to the future is basically, as you can see in this cartoon he tweeted at us, working class people and poor people making life easier for rich people in the country. That's essentially what he sees as the outcome of all of this. Betty, I'll throw this to you. What do you think are the
But Betty's disappeared for a moment, so who else do you want to pick?
Let's throw it to Laura.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Do you agree with that sense that what is happening right now is kind of essentially a crackdown from the right on the left through this process?
Well, I do think that element is present. Yes, even though I'm not a supporter of this government, which the government already had yielded to the pressures from the right already, so it wasn't even representing the left in the country anymore, which doesn't make it, deserving of the impeachment. But what happened is very clearly a class warfare in some sense. When you see protesters in New York last week in the General Assembly who were pro-impeachment shouting, "You like poor people," to the people who are against the impeachment, and make it so explicit that the point here is about liking poor people as if this was a crime. Yes, we see how things are getting very, very mixed and with ideological and social conflicts, especially in an economic crisis like that, when the dispute for the budget and for the income distribution gets so big.
Yeah. Was in charge of.
Well, the economic crisis she didn't manage to solve. Yes, I fully agree with that part.
Created actually.
It doesn't mean
crisis that she created.
No, it's not a crisis that she created. It's a crisis that she helped create. It's a crisis that she helped.
It's her finance minister to blame, I believe, right?
So, guess, just take a moment. Give me a moment, because I want to show.
She's the one to blame, and also the commodity prices are to blame, and also the operation, the car wash operation, which is a great thing, is to blame for part of the recession as well as the political climate, which became a completely nonsense with the help of you guys.
So, Laura, let me just show you a video here, and Fabio, let me show you a video here as well. This is your president last week in a press conference, and she seems to be under some stress. Have a listen to what she says here.
I began fighting during a time when it was very difficult to fight. It was the time of the open and blatant dictatorship, that in which they tortured you physically and killed people, friends of mine. Now I live in a democracy, and in a certain way I am having my dreams tortured, my rights tortured, but they will not kill the hope in me.
Betty, I'm just wondering, how much empathy do you have for your president right now?
Well, I have a lot of empathy. I think well, they all had like an important role in democracy in Brazil, and I respect her. As I said, I agree with Laura. I'm not 100% happy with the government, to be honest. But to support impeachment, this is ridiculous. They're talking about corruption and crime. So why are they supporting the impeachment? I don't understand. So maybe we should ask for earlier elections, or something like that. It doesn't make sense. I mean, now in Brazil we have like the most. Never corruption was so investigated as it is now in Brazil. So you have a president that had no actual evidence of corruption against an opposition which names are constantly coming up in the corruption schemes. So I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense to me. Sorry, it doesn't.
So Renata, if what you would like to happen, i.e. your president is removed and she's impeached, what next for Brazil? What could be the consequences of that?
Temer would assume, of course, he's not the best option, but we have to work with reality, right? So everybody's saying like, oh, Michel Temer is not good, he's corrupt as well. But actually, people that voted for Dilma Rousseff voted for Michel Temer. He's a vice president. He was in the same, and when he voted, his picture was exactly right there. So now after he assumed if this actually happens, we have to see what is going on, because not only I'm concerned about corruption, of course I am, but I'm concerned about economic issues. This is a very complicated issue right now. We have unemployment growing, we have inflation rate. Nobody's taking care of economy because they are actually concerned about their politics alliances and all these things to keep themselves alive in the politics. So that's what I'm concerned about.
We actually got a video comment from somebody who actually has a very nuanced take on this. Take a listen to what Rafael has to say.
I oppose the impeachment process, though I cannot call it a coup, as it is simply the result of a power struggle among the Workers' Party and their former allies, as well as the Vice President Michel Temer, and allies that have been supporting the government so far based on corruption schemes that date back from Lula and the Mensalão case. The future scenario is probably the one of unpopular measures being approved, and the same measures that Dilma so far has been trying to approve. So nothing will change.
So Fabio, Rafael here sees this just a squabble between politicians who are all corrupt and nothing will actually change in practicality. What would you respond with? Fabio, are you there?
I think that's a way too. Yeah, I'm here. That's a way too pessimistic point of view about the future of Brazil. I think nothing will change if we keep on looking to the side to corruption scandals and to president that has been breaking the laws and continues to break, infringing our constitution. We should respect rule of law. We should respect the due process of law established in our constitution, which says that the president should be judged by the Congress and by the Congress only in cases of impeachment. So I say it again. It's not up to me, Laura, to Betty, or to Renata to say if she committed responsibility crimes. It's for the Congress, and this is what's happening right now in Brazil. And I believe that in 6 months maximum, we will have a new government. I did not vote for the vice president. Probably Laura and Betty voted for him. But I cannot stand this situation in which we have a failing government that's taking Brazil to the bottom of a pit, of a bottomless pit, it seems to us, with unemployment rising, with respect for law declining each and every day,
exactly.
Our political system being corroded from the inside.
Laura, go ahead. Just very briefly, give us a last thought.
Well, I fully agree. The crisis is deep, and the unemployment rates are skyrocketing. And I have deep concerns that a government without the legitimacy of the vote, in such bad economic conditions, will have an even harder time, especially as they're promising really unpopular measures.
All right. So you're listening to Laura Carvalho there. We've also got Betty Martins, Renata Barreto, and also Fabio Ostermann, and you as well, our community. If you want to weigh in on this conversation, it's not too late. Hashtag AJStream. Omar will be waiting for your community, and we'll be online at stream.aljazeera.com in our post show. Hopefully, see you there. Take care, everybody. Hello again, this is the Streams Online Post Show. We're going to get back to our discussion about Brazil's political crisis. So I'm wondering if this impeachment of Dilma Rousseff is a metaphor for something else. In fact, I'm pretty convinced it is a metaphor for something else. Fabio, what's it a metaphor for? What does it say about Brazil today?
It could be a metaphor for a new period of progress, of fight against corruption, of decreasing the size of bureaucracy, of political power in Brazil, which is a struggle for us libertarians, as we are from people from my party. I think this can be a metaphor and the beginning of a new period for our country.
Betty, what's it a metaphor for from your perspective?
Well, I've been thinking a lot about this actually, and it might sound a little bit harsh, but to be honest with you, I don't think Brazilians are quite, this sort of people that support the impeachment, etc. The majority of them don't agree with the affirmative actions, with the, social benefits. That I think unconsciously or consciously, Brazil is not. They're not really happy with the social progresses that is being going on here.
Can I just cut to the chase here, Betty? A metaphor for class war? Is that what you're saying?
Perhaps.
Because this is a very long metaphor. I was like, what is it a metaphor for? And your metaphor is like getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I'm trying to work out, what are you saying? Are you saying this is class war? This is rich versus poor? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I want to get to your metaphor faster.
No, I think that's it, Fabio. I think that's it.
All right.
To be honest, that's it.
Rich versus poor. Laura.
Well,
what do you
for
say?
me, the process is clearly a metaphor for escaping the investigations for a big part of our lawmakers who are definitely hopeful that with the impeachment process they will get rid of the charges against them. So it's really they have a clear goal. They already started following through. I mean, the president of the lower house, Eduardo Cunha, who is facing charges of more than 40 billion US dollars being deviated from the scandal, he's already acting to avoid his removal from the presidency of the lower house. And this is number one goal there. Then there is also a metaphor for fighting definitely social benefits and workers' rights.
All right, I'm gonna cut your metaphor short here because I don't want to lose the meaning of it because you go on too long. Renata, give me your metaphor for what we're seeing right now with this impeachment crisis.
Well, I might try to say this shortly, but I think also I do understand that people are against impeachment for many reasons, but I have my reasons to be for it, to support it. And the metaphor is, I think Brazilians are finally getting a little bit of political conscious, because it's the first time that everybody are seeking for information about economics and politics and trying to debate. Although it's an argument and it's complicated to debate this nowadays in Brazil, I think this is an opportunity, a great opportunity actually, to have a conscience about our politicians and what they're doing with our money, all the way they are our employees.
So Renata, we have people in our community who see it a little bit differently. We have Heather over here who says the anti-corruption campaign is just window dressing for an attempt to seize power by conservatives who haven't been able to win an election since President Lula. But we also have a different take also from Samson, who says, how could it be a coup when the impeachment is going through the normal political process? Do they not know what the word coup means? Betty, let me throw that to you. Even if you agreed that what is being done, let's just for the sake of argument, we all agree that it's not right. Is using the word coup going a little too far? Is it too strong? Does it bring up too violent a connotation?
No, I'm taking on the arguments that and the information that Renata brought it earlier, because for me it was to think that, you know, if there is no actual evidence of anything that the president has been done and the way it's being structured, yeah, it does feel like a coup. It does feel like a threat to democracy, especially by having the, you know, having who's behind all this. Basically, it's going to be backwards for Brazil for sure.
It's not for us to decide, actually.
From your perspective, I mean, if all the stages are gone through, that's all on the books, is it an oxymoron to call this a political coup?
It can't be a coup. It can't be a coup because a Supreme Court is actually doing their job. They're saying everything is going right, so it can't be a coup. How can it be a coup when you left the country, as Dilma Rousseff did, to have a speech at the United Nations and let her vice president or so-called arch enemy to be there at her place, and when she's gonna come back, he's gonna let her be the president again. So how can be this a coup? And specifically, just to finish, we have the responsibility, the fiscal responsibility law, giving legal basis to the impeachment. So it's not a coup at all.
All right,
It's a delusional argument.
I have a different take there. I think there is a big confusion and in the population. We are a presidentialist system. We're not a parliamentary system. In a parliamentary system, people can get ousted because they're unpopular, and that's called a no-confidence vote by the Congress. That's what she's been given, a no-confidence vote. People are not interested in the legal basis of it. They're only claiming she's unpopular and incompetent. In the presidentialist system, an impeachment requires a crime of responsibility. It is very unclear even that there is a crime. Not to speak of a crime of responsibility, which means that this is a parliamentary coup. It's a coup given by the parliament as a shortcut to power.
It's not at all.
As a means to stop investigation.
Not at all.
Fabio, hold tight a moment. People listen to you. Hold tight. Hold tight, Fabio. Hold tight for a moment. People listen to you. Laura, please finish.
Yes, thank you. And that's called a parliamentary coup. It happened in Paraguay, and unfortunately it's happening in Brazil. People are using whatever sort of legal basis they find to pretend that they're following through the process, and it's not the case. And the Supreme Court, which will probably endorse this at the end, also endorsed the military coup in 1964, which doesn't mean anything. The Supreme Court also goes with public opinion, and no one even cares getting informed about what the legal basis of the process is.
So you're saying you don't trust our institutions.
So guess I have to admit, I'm back with...
Unfortunately, at this point, no, I'm not trusting.
I have to admit, I'm with Betty. Do you remember Betty at the very beginning said, I have no idea what's going on in Brazil? Thank you, Betty, because I feel like that resonates with me as well. After we've been talking about it for 14 minutes, but I totally feel for you right now. Who knows what's going to happen next? Let's just leave the last word with Omar and the community.
Sure, we have a couple of interesting thoughts. Matthews over here tweets in saying the impeachment of Dilma is only the beginning. The fight against corruption will last for many years. But we have another caution here from Davey who says, seems like Brazilians have forgotten that the president was voted to power, was not appointed. Better use the ballot box.
Fabio, Renata, Betty and Laura, we could keep going for an hour. I know we could, an extra hour, but I'm going to say thank you so much for being part of the stream today, and I'm going to wrap it up right now. Take care, everybody.